It's time to finish and bottle our maple syrup. So we're just kind of in the middle of finishing this batch of maple syrup, so I thought I'd take you guys through the entire process from start to finish with what I have learned over the past couple years. I'm warming it in this pot. These pots do not hold heat very well, the stainless steel pots, so I'd recommend getting like a canning bath pot, like a ceramic pot, or even these Teflon ones here. I think this has like some kind of enamel coating or something on it, but it holds heat real well. This thing boils much better at a lower temperature. This thing barely ever boils, so I wouldn't recommend these. I use this as kind of a pre-warmer. I get the sap up to a boiling temperature, and then I add it into here as this boils down. This is my finishing pot. We'll get about 1.5 gallons of finished maple syrup out of this pot, so I'll keep adding to it. And what you'll notice is I started off on high heat, but as this gets higher and higher sugar content, remember we're trying to get up to about 66% sugar content, as this gets that boils down, gets that water out of there, the higher sugar content, you got to turn this heat down because it'll start to foam over. And so you really got to keep an eye on this. I'll keep tapping the heat down until, just keep it at a boil but not letting it foam over. When it's finished maple syrup, I'll be way down here on about 5, trying to keep it to boil without foaming over. So you just really got to keep an eye on it. It's a mess if it boils over, all that sugary stuff baking all over the stove. So keep a close eye on it. This is the rest of the almost finished maple sap that I brought in from the outdoor evaporator. And so I'm adding this to the mix as I need to here. So I've got about 5 gallons still to put in. I'll probably have to do 2 batches today because I've got quite a bit of sap to go through. So I'll show you what happens if we turn the heat up a little bit here. Once it starts getting foamy like that, it's just about ready to boil over. And there it's going to go, so we'll turn it back down. So I've made the mistake a couple times of leaving the room and going to do other things while this boils. So you really got to stay close to it, keep an eye on it. You're definitely going to be producing a lot of steam while you're boiling inside here. That's not a problem at all. A lot of people talk about, oh, your ceilings and walls will be all sticky. That's really not going to be an issue, especially in the wintertime up here in Michigan. I mean, our house is really dry anyway, so adding extra moisture doesn't hurt. If it's a nice day outside, you want to air the house out, that's fine. But this is just water vapor coming off of here. If there's any sugar in this, it's got to be less than 0.1%. I mean, it's the steam that comes off here really is just water vapor, and so it's not sticky. Anything that I can wipe the microwave right above here, and it's not sticky at all. It's just water. So I really never had an issue with that. All right, so we've run most of the sap through for this batch, and so we're getting ready to finish everything off. You can see I've got it way down below medium here, just a little bit below medium as far as temperature is concerned. And if I turn it up any at all, it starts to foam over. So it's getting thick, and it's getting pretty close to syrup. So it's time to test it and see exactly where we're at. Now there's 2 different camps, 2 different ways to do this. The way that I used last year, and I have a video on this, is this is just a candy thermometer. It clips to the pan, and you stick it down in there, an inch or 2 off the bottom, whatever it is, and it tells you the temperature. And the idea here is that the boiling point of the sap, as it gets closer to syrup, gets higher and higher and higher. But once it gets to that key temperature, depending on your elevation, that tells you that you have the correct sugar content, which is supposed to be about 66% to make official maple syrup. I can tell you this works, it gets you in the general region, but it really isn't very accurate. So what I have graduated to this year is called a hydrometer, and you can find these everywhere. Ace Hardware has them, Rural King, probably Walmart, of course Amazon, and I'll put a link to these. I think I didn't get this on Amazon, but I know they have them on Amazon, so I'll put a link to this on Amazon. But it comes with a stainless steel beaker, and it comes with this glass tube, and it's very fragile, so I'm going to open this here without breaking it. So this is just a glass tube with a weight at the bottom, and it's designed specifically to float at a certain buoyancy. And there's a couple marks here that tell you exactly where your syrup, when your syrup is done. There's balm, which is one measurement, and there's bricks, which is another measurement of the sugar content. You'll see here, I usually just use bricks, which is, I think it's 59 bricks, and you see that little red mark there. So we're going to fill this cup up, and when this floats and the top of the level comes right to that red line, then we'll know we're good. If it's sinking down, then it's not thick enough. That means it's not floating enough. And if you went too far, I suppose, which I've never actually went too far, but if you boil too far, it'd be too thick and it would probably float up higher, and then you have to add some sap to it. So it's a really neat little tool, but these are fragile. If you hold it, you know, even if you try to hold it on one end, it's heavy enough, it'll break that tube. So you be careful with that. So I just have a ladle here. So let's see if we're getting close. I know it's not quite ready yet, but let's see where we're at. Try to get us as close to the top as possible so you guys can see. Alright, so we're going to lower this in slowly. I don't want to drop it. If it's thin, it'll go right to the bottom and break. We'll set it in there. We'll see where we're at. Alright, so I don't know if you can see there on the bricks measurement, we're about 56 maybe. So the surface is coming right to about right here. So we're close. We're real close. We got a couple to go. So maybe about 10 more minutes of boiling, and we'll be right there. So, all right, it's been a few minutes here. Let's give it another test. I think we're going to be there. Ooh, almost overfilled it. I'm going to call it another few minutes on the stove, and then we're going to take it off. So we're right at the red line is just below the surface there. So just in the time I've been talking, it probably boiled enough to get us to that red line. So we are at 66% sugar content. All right, so this is the final filtration that we're going to do here, and it's not quite what we had envisioned. We're going to use a coffee, one of those coffee warmer pots, whatever, 100-cup coffee pots with the little nozzle on the front. That would be ideal. Those are about $100, and so we'll probably invest in that for next year. Right now what I have is one of these hanging cloth filters that hangs from 2 stools on a table, and it's over a pot that I have underneath that's going to catch the finished syrup. There's a pre-filter that goes in here, and these are new, and the cloth filters we reuse. The pre-filters we don't really reuse, so that gives us a nice clean filter surface to put in here for the syrup to filter through. What we're doing is we're taking out this last final bit of what's called sugar sand. Sugar sand occurs in the final boiling process of the syrup, and basically what happens is the minerals and things like that are in the sap, they kind of settle out during that time once the sugar content gets thick enough, and you end up with this kind of sandy looking stuff on the bottom. It's not harmful. It's actually probably good for you, to be honest with you, but it doesn't look good in a syrup bottle, and can affect the flavor of the syrup a little bit, so we want to filter that out as much as possible. So we're going to take our very hot boiling maple syrup, we're going to pour it through here, let it drain into the pot below, and then we'll get right to bottling. Alright, so while this is still boiling hot, we want to start filling these bottles. We don't want it to get below temperature, because this is going to help sterilize everything. Now all the bottles I ran through the sterilized cycle in the dishwasher, so they're all sterile, and just pulled them out and we're ready to fill them up. I like to fill them up pretty close to the top, leave about a ½ inch at the top, and as these things cool, they're going to suck a lot of the air down, and they'll end up being about 1 inch of space at the top. Get a cap on that right away. Nice and tight, and then we're going to lay it down on its side, and I roll it. Make sure that all that cap gets touched by the hot liquid, and then we'll just let that sit on its side so that we know it's got a good seal and the cap is sterile. Man, is this some good stuff. We love maple syrup around here. We use quite a bit of it. So we're glad to have been able to make quite a bit of our own this year, and next year hopefully even more. So always great to make your own maple syrup. The cool thing is that even if you only have a couple trees in your yard, this is something that I didn't really know or think about when we lived in the suburban setting, is that even if you had 3 or 4 trees, doesn't matter what kind of maple tree they are, you could still get enough sap to make a decent amount of syrup for yourself. And if you have some real big old sugar maples, one of those things can produce a gallon of syrup a year. 40, 50, 60 gallons of sap come out of one of those things, and you can get a good amount of syrup. So keep that in mind. But hopefully this helped you guys out for if you're looking to do maple syrup this year, and hopefully some tips and tricks to help make the process a little bit smoother. As always, guys, comments down below, and I'd love to have you guys follow along. If you're not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button, as well as hit that little bell next to it. That'll help you get notifications whenever we post new content. Thumbs up on the video as always, and thanks for watching. Have a good one.